for those of you who don't know, in addition to being a sommelier, I'm also a chef. I went to culinary school. I have a background in fine dining, French cuisine, and culinary management. So, well, hospitality management actually. But we're actually at the restaurant in the Joel Plummer House kitchen, and I thought we'd make some French onion soup for the team. So this Wine Talk Wednesday video is a little different, but we're gonna kind of walk you through my my pretty classic step process for French onion. So, cheers. Right, so we got our ingredients to start off here. French onion soup is a pretty classic soup. Essentially, it's caramelized onions with beef stock and then some aromatics as well. Starting off with some white onions and then little chef's secret as well. I like to use about half the amount of red onions as well. I think they add a little bit more depth, a little more characteristic to the soup. So we're just gonna start off by peeling, of course, our onions and then having them. And you can use a knife or a microplane if you have it, or if you want to, you could even use like a food processor or something. You just want to get them small enough where you can actually get them sliced. So just cut off the root ends here. And they don't have to be perfect, you just want to get them kind of around the same like medium sliced side, so that when we're caramelizing them, they're not getting too burnt, because they're all relatively the same size. Perfect. All right, so we got our onions, we got our rondo. I know this looks like a lot of onion, but I am cooking for like 11 people. But also, this is gonna cook down to maybe about a quarter of this pan. So once onions caramelize, they're mostly water, so they're gonna evaporate, cook down, start to caramelize, get that kind of brown caramelization to them, and then we'll add the beef stock and the other aromatics and go from there. So in the pot, we want to throw in a little bit of butter. Throw in a little bit of olive oil as well. Not a ton, but olive oil helps keep the butter from browning. And then another little chef secret, a little bit of brown sugar. Because we are caramelizing the onions, brown sugar helps with that reaction and kind of speeds up the process. So we'll get this guy on about high heat. I'll take care. Alright, so we got most of our butter, sugar, and oil sort of smelted down here. So we're going to go ahead in here with the onions. Alright, so you can see in the corners here, we're starting to get that kind of caramelizing, that Maillard reaction. We're getting a lot of fond down here. That's exactly what you want. You're starting to see these onions. They're starting to turn a little brown. You hear that sizzle. So most of the moisture is evaporating out of here. Now we're getting down to that. Yeah, we're starting to smell sweeter. We're starting to cook down. This is exactly what we want. Alright, we're about halfway through on the caramelization of these, so we're not looking to see here. But in the meantime, let's take a walk to the garden and grab some rosemary. Yeah, not super traditional for French onion soup, but I like to throw a little sprig of rosemary in there with the other herbs, just because I think it adds something else. Just enough for you to sort of recognize it, but not really understand it. I like when guests are like, oh man, I taste something that what is that? It's so familiar. And then you tell them, oh, it's rosemary. Oh, it's rosemary. They're like, yeah. Get to that point where the onions are starting to dry out a little bit. So if you look in the pot, we got all that beautiful brown. That's not burning, that's caramelization. We want to pull that up off the pan to incorporate all that flavor back into the onion. So usually you like what they glaze with something like Pinot, or depending on the recipe, but I like to use dry sherry. It's pretty traditional in French onion. But we're not using a lot. We're literally just gonna slosh them in. You'll see the fond pull up the bottom of the pan as that kind of caramelizes here. And now liquid again, so we can scrape all that up. Now we have a clean pan again, and that's all that flavors incorporated back into the onions here. So once it starts to caramelize more, we'll start to deglaze more. and we're working. So from here, we're gonna add in a little bit of raw garlic right to the center of the pan here. Never had too much garlic. Everything else calls for 1 clove, and that means like 2 heads of garlic, to be honest, right? So we'll cook this up here. Get this kind of raw onion or raw garlic flavor cooked out a little bit as well. If you're not garlic fans, you can do less. You can add more. It's not gonna hurt the recipe. Nothing better than onions and garlic cooking in the kitchen. It's one of the best smells. So at this point, I've added no salt to the entire batch, and I'll get to that in a second. Cook this for another couple of minutes. Get that flavor cooked out. Alright, so we got our garlic incorporated here. Next to the pan, we're going to throw in about a gallon of some homemade beef stock here. That's our base. We'll throw a nice handful of some fresh black pepper in here as well. Over here we got our little sachet, so some fresh thyme, some bay leaves from our garden outside, and that sprig of rosemary. Those will go in as well. That was good. Let that come to a boil. But then we have another little chef's secret over here. So this is really where all the flavor kind of comes together. So French onion soup is a super rich dish. It's super like velvety, and so we want to add some layers. We want some salt, we want some acid to this, and also some extra flavor. So this is something I learned in culinary school. It's kind of a little chef's secret, but I have Worcestershire balsamic vinegar and then some soy sauce. And I like to do about equal parts of each. So we'll start off with like a 1/4 cup of each one. Soy sauce, 1/3 cup of balsamic vinegar. That's gonna add our acid. 1/3 cup also of Worcestershire. So, because this is a Wine Talk Wednesday video, let's talk a little bit about flavor or taste. So when it comes to tasting food, tasting wine, all these things, your palate can physically only taste 5 things. So sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and then umami. Obviously sweet things are going to be things like donuts and sugar and all that stuff. Sour is going to be things like vinegar, balsamic vinegar, lemon juice, acid. Things that are bitter would be things like coffee, tannin, things like black tea. We're looking at things that are salty. Obviously, salt would be things like potato chips, caviar, oysters, all these things as well. And then umami is a flavor that most people don't really understand. And it's kind of hard to describe, but things that are umami are going to be things like roasted tomatoes, caramelized onions, balsamic soy sauce, and Worcestershire. Even though balsamic and soy sauce are salty and acidic, they're also very umami. Mushrooms are very umami. Fish sauce is umami. So these are all really rich flavors. My favorite thing about the Asian cuisine is that they incorporate usually all 5 flavors into their dishes. So ramen is sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. These are all things that create layers in a dish. So here we have that little concoction. It's gonna go right into the soup here. So that's gonna boost all that flavor. It's gonna add some salt, it's gonna add some acid, and of course, kind of up the umami of this dish. Stir that in. And that's why I didn't add salt earlier, because I wanted to add the soy sauce first before adjusting for salt. Soup's been stirring, simmering for a little bit. We'll give it a little taste here. So make sure the broth is, again, all set on acids, salt, sugar. It's pretty good. We need a little more salt. Alright, I think we're good to go in the soup. Final step, we'll get them in bowls. We have some crostinis we'll put on top of them. I finish it with a little truffle oil, just because why not, right?